The last segment that I did online regarding you are what you eat, I had went over a few food additives the last time that we were here, and so it wasn't too much more other items that I wanted to kind of conclude with you on, but I also mentioned that I wanted to go over a passage with you as well as then touch on some other type of foods that we really need to be paying attention to. Some other something else called hybrids, and so it has become so common now in the markets. It's become so common, like I'm talking like almost like 99% of the average commercial markets, pretty much the items that are in it are basically hybrid items. So I wanted to talk about that just a little bit on just for a few minutes. Hopefully you have that. If not, you can always play back, and that's the good thing about having the ability to be able to play something back. I believe Periscope gives you 24 hours. Some of the segments I will upload on YouTube, and so you'll be able to find some of those there as well. Or even if you put in a request, I can definitely, ensure that whatever is recorded, that it can be sent to you. Okay. First, let me just acknowledge the fact that I'm not a physician, I'm not a dietitian, I'm not a naturalist, I don't profess any claims, cures, treating of any type of disease or condition or causes of anything. Okay. What I share with all of you guys is based upon what I have researched, based upon my personal information. Whatever education that I have gained through resources is what I just feel led to share with my brothers and sisters, because I believe that we just need to be aware in this hour of the ingredients that most are consuming. The research and information that I have done for myself is strictly just for educational and enlightenment purposes. It serves no other purpose here. This way that there is no breach, there is no breaking of any boundaries of the law. Okay, so I don't have a medical background. I'm not liable through expressive voice of my opinions or implications of any matter. All right, I don't claim responsibility for anything emotional or physical regarding any type of treating yourself or nothing like that. Definitely consult with your physician or a naturalist or who it is that you go to see, so that you are able to be led properly. Okay, so I just wanted to share that. And then also, I know that a few days ago we talked about artificial colors, artificial flavors. I'm not going to go back over that, but each component that we went over was very vital to our bodies, to our system, to our cells, to the blood, and some of what we covered definitely had the potential to have the effect to create whether it been hypersensitivity or hyperactivity or cancer causing properties or carcinogens. So those things are very important to stay away from. That is my personal recommendation, that we do the best to stay away from that as much as possible. Artificial sweeteners we talked about NutraSweet, we talked about sucralose, we talked about aspartame, we talked about a lot of synthetic sweeteners, and so those are just not good for us. It's not good for our bodies. We talked about synthetic astaxanthin. We began to talk about MSG, which we know that a lot of restaurants cover, especially Chinese restaurants, Asian. They prepare a lot with MSG in it. And so we know, number one, that's definitely not a good product. We talked about some of the results that can affect the body if you use that as well. We also covered emulsifiers, those fillers that people put in the meats, they put it in the foods, just to use it to bind things together, as well as high fructose corn syrup. That is something, if it doesn't directly say sugar, sometimes you'll see the HFCS to really just know what that is. So we covered that, and I believe the few that I did not go over is actually what I want to talk about just a little bit right now. This next one that we did not go over actually is pumped usually into apples to cause them to stop, stop the natural process of growing, and it stops it from producing something called ethylene. This ingredient that is usually added to the fruit is called methyl cyclopropene. Methyl cyclopropene. All right, doesn't even sound right? But it stops the progress of your fruit being ripened. And so usually it's used to preserve the apples for a shelf life of up to a year. Sometimes they put it in bananas so that bananas can last up to a month. These are additives that are put in the products. You know, sulfur dioxide serves the same purpose when they use it to spray it on grapes. So these are chemicals. These are just chemicals that are being added to add time to the life of the fruits itself, which is not good. You know, pesticides, chemicals, all of those, they have consequences, just like everything else that's artificial. It's going to react in your system one way or another. All right. The next one that I wanted to talk about is called Olestra, Olestra. The FDA has approved this to be used in snack foods. They approved it actually several years ago, and the problem with Olestra, not just because they allow it to be approved, but because it inhibits the ability to be able to absorb the healthy vitamins that are in the fruits that you do consume. So, you know, it's been known to cause leaky gut syndrome, anal leakage, gastrointestinal problems, and this is one reason also why the FDA mandated that any product that contained Olestra be indicated on the warning label. So if it is something that is used in the product, you should see it on the label. They're supposed to put it on the label. Okay. The next one was partially hydrogenated oils. Hydrogenization is the process of heating an oil and passing hydrogen bubbles through it. That is the process. Okay. There are additives, the properties that have been linked because it is partially done, creates a slow metabolism. It's been known to create a slower metabolism, can bring on the onset of diabetes, can create issues with cancer or heart disease. It does have the possibilities of these things. And so, you know, when you use a product and you use it for a lengthy period of time, you know, a lot of times I hear people say, well, you know, I've been using this for years. It hasn't affected me. You know, more and more chemicals are being added to products. You can reflect back to 20 years ago. We probably say, wow, you know, at this time, this wasn't, you know, didn't have all of these additives as it does today. Sometimes you won't know till later on how much of an effect it can have on you. So the best thing to do is when you find out information, take that information, research that information, you know, and apply the better part of that information to our lives. The next one is potassium bromate. This one, the state of California requires a cancer warning on the product label if it's included in the item or the ingredient. A lot of time it's used in white flour, it's used in breads, it's used in rolls. It rapidly breaks down in your system. You know, it happens very fast. But small amounts even of it in bread, and you consuming it over a long period of time, studies have shown that it can create a risk in humans. I think it's only been tested pretty much in rats and animals, but because California requires it, they've had to see the potential of some dangers of that product being included itself. The next one is sodium nitrate. Sodium nitrate and nitrate. Now, nitrate by itself is a harmless substance. However, when they add it and they put a secondary compound to it, which is sodium nitrate, this is where we begin to have problems, because you're adding compounds to it. So it's been tested that it then is recognized as a cancer exacerbating chemical. Okay, so, and a lot of times the chemical reaction happens while you're frying the food. So sodium nitrate and nitrates, first of all, if you look at a pack of hot dogs or sausage, most of the time, and I'm just noticing more frequently now, it'll say it has nitrates in it or sodium nitrate in it. Look for that on the label, because you don't want to buy something that has that in it. Okay, sodium nitrate is definitely not good for us. And now I see that some manufacturers are putting it actually on the label, and they'll say no, and they think they're getting slick, because a lot of times it'll just say no nitrates. It won't say no sodium nitrate. So it's very important. Take a look at that label and see what is listed on the ingredients. Okay, take the time to do it, because it's worth looking at. It's definitely worth checking out. And you know, this is, again, is what we're consuming in our temples, and the Most High definitely wants us to pay attention to that. I firmly believe that, you know, because he wants our temples to be well and whole. All right, synthetic trans fats definitely is a no-no. It promotes inflammation. If you look in the back of an ingredient, sometimes it'll say fats, and then it'll say trans fats. I have something actually right here. It'll say total fat, then it'll say saturated fat, and then it'll say trans fat. Okay, so they have to indicate that on the labels now. But synthetic trans fats have a tendency to build well, fried foods basically, it's not a good thing to eat that on a regular basis. But anyway, and I'm just responding to a commenter. But synthetic trans fats are known to promote inflammation. Okay, inflammation breeds pain, it breeds symptoms, it brings problems. Okay, and you don't want a buildup of inflammation to bring on other ailments or other infirmities. All right, and it's been known. It says in one study in 2010, it says postmenopausal women who consume the most daily synthetic trans fats had a 30% higher incidence of strokes, and synthetic trans fats have also been linked to cancer. They've been linked to diabetes. It's been linked to a decreased immune function, reducing your immune response, which is not good. Problems with reproduction, and heart disease as well. Okay, so these are not, we have to watch what we're putting in our system. Also, preservatives. Now, we covered BHT the other day. We covered BHA. We talked about those being used as preservatives, problems, allergic reactions, cancers, tumors. We talked about that being a result of using those, or if you see it on a label, sometimes they're not going to spell out the whole word. You'll see BHT, BHA, you know, they abbreviate a lot, but it's up to you to go see, you know, research and see what it is. Preservative, sodium benzoate, we went over that the other day as well. Sodium nitrates, we know that that's not good. You're going to find that in hot dogs, you're going to find that in sausages, you're going to find it in deli meat, you're going to find it in bacon, you're going to find it even, and these nitrates also create a higher rate for colorectal cancer, stomach and pancreatic cancers as well. Okay, so the list can just go on and on and on and on, but it's about checking out what you're consuming. You know, people, a lot of times we reach for the quick. We'll go get that deli meat, we'll go get, you know, and we're not paying attention to the sodium nitrate that's in it. We'll eat that hot dog real quick because it's a meal, you know, and so forth. But it's better that we learn how to pay attention to those things. Okay, also, so for right now on the additives, I'm going to leave that where it is. Continue to do your research. Continue to look into these items, okay? But I also wanted to mention, because I started talking about Leviticus 11 the other day, and we know that the Most High's instruction is for us to be well, to be whole, and he set certain things in place that we should and should not consume. Well, in particular, one area that I just want to cover quickly before I begin to talk about the hybrids is, you know, sometimes I just believe that people want to have an out to eat what they want. So the bad thing about that is that a lot of times scripture gets twisted and it gets manipulated to suit a person's needs. When you appreciate your relationship with the Most High, with Yahuwah, you have a desire not to want to go against what he wants. So before I even get into it, I'm gonna say this. Whatever he has put in on the forbidden list for us not to consume, then that is something that we should not put in our system. I'm not going to make it just about one particular aspect, but I do want to touch base on a particular scripture regarding pork. Pork is only one on the list that the Most High told us not to consume. There are so many other things too that he told us that we should not consume. But this particular one, most people have switched the scripture to suit it, to say, oh, well, you know, the Most High, he told us to pray over it, and he told us to, you know, if we bless it, you know, then it's not unclean. That is not true. You know, the Most High is not going to change his law. He doesn't change what he says. And so, you know, we have to understand that what happened in the book of Ma'asah, which is the book of Acts, chapter 10, where people relate to the vision that Peter had, a lot of misinterpretation has come in that, because people will say, oh, well, he told Peter to eat. You know, even though Peter didn't do it, it still didn't give him permission to consume a food that the Father had already deemed to be unclean. Okay, so you know, if you take the time to read Acts chapter 10, I won't go through all of that now, but read that, because from verse 1 up until verse 28, it sets the stage, it sets the whole platform from the beginning until the revelation of what the Father was saying to Peter. It tells us that very clearly. So I'm just going to read a few verses out of that, because I'm going to show you the key point areas and how it gets to the point in verse 28. I don't know how anybody can misconstrue verse 28. It's very clear. Now, people take this. It says, and he became very hungry and would have eaten, but while they made ready, he fell into a trance. So he has this vision. This is the beginning of what happened. Okay? It says, and saw heaven opened, and a certain vessel descended unto him, as it had been a great sheet knit at the four corners, and let down to the earth. Now, there's a revelation in that, but I want to get to the main point. It says, wherein were all manner of four-footed beasts of the earth, and wild beasts, and creeping things, and fowls of the air. And there came a voice to him, rise, Peter, kill and eat. And Peter says, not so, Yahuwah, for I have never eaten anything that is common or unclean. Now here, in what is indicated in 12, the Father is clear, you know, in putting this before Peter. This wasn't to tempt him to see if he was going to go kill an animal that he had already deemed unclean. This is not the case. Peter is very clear. He recognizes in verse 15 that the items that is being spoken to him in the vision are things that he would not consume. These are things he already knows that the Father forbids. So by the time you get down to, now first let's understand that Peter knew that Yahuwah would not change his word or change the law. Okay, so by the time you get there, so we just need to rule that out. Okay, we need to rule that out of our thoughts, because the Father's word does not change. All right, it will always stay the same. And when you get that in your mind, it's not like he said, okay, well, don't eat this today, but I'll let you eat it tomorrow. No, the word is a word and it will not change. So we have to keep that in mind. He didn't give permission for Peter to eat what he had already deemed to be unclean. By the time you read down, it gives the account of how Cornelius comes in, how Peter, how they link up, how the fellowship happens. And then by the time you get to verse 28, it talks about, it's very clear even in 20, I'll even read back to 27. It says, and as he talked with him, now they're together, they're in fellowship. He says, he went in and found many that were come together. So there's a fellowship happening. There's you know, they're assembled. It says, and he said unto them, ye know how that it is an unlawful thing for a man that is a Jew to keep company or come into one of another nation. But Yahuwah have showed me that I should not call any man. He wasn't talking about food. It says, call any man common or unclean. So Peter's very clear. He's got the revelation. He's understanding that the Most High is not talking about food. It's clear. He's saying, listen, he showed me. That second part of the verse says, he showed me I shall not call man common or unclean. There was something, that means he had the understanding of Yahuwah's vision. So, you know, for people to say, oh, you know, well, he told Peter to go eat, it had nothing to do with food. It had everything to do with the fact that, you know, the fact that it was known that they should not have been in fellowship together according to man. But Yahuwah was opening the door for the Gentiles to be received and receive the good news. So for people to say that this was about food when this was about souls is incorrect. Okay, so, you know, the scripture is clear, and, you know, for people to say that and use that when it's very clear and it's notated in that chapter what was revealed, and even Peter acknowledging what Yahweh showed him, makes it clear that this was not about him killing an animal that was unclean to eat. This was totally about the fact that now the Gentiles have an opportunity to come into the truth, to come into knowing who the Father was for themselves. Okay, so we gotta come away from that. And for somebody to tell you that, please don't receive it. Stick with the word. The word does not lie, and the Father will not show us anything different or in opposition to what he has already spoken. Okay, so I wanted to just give you that briefly as well. Now, briefly, and I'm going to make it as brief as possible, I think this is important. We have in most of our markets right now, as I said in the beginning, almost a 99% rate in the commercial markets of the foods that are in there, especially the fruits and the vegetable, being hybrid products. So what is a hybrid? You know, it is a blending of multiple animals or plants of different breeds, different varieties, different species, different genera, in order to result a specific outcome. Okay, so there are plants that have been crossbred. There are animals that have been crossbred. There are fruits that have been crossbred. It's called crossbreeding. Okay, and you know, when we start talking about that, we can't dismiss the GMO factor. Okay, because when crossbreeding came into play, for the fruits, for the veggies, for the animals, currently right now, the modern purpose was to help the farmers to be able to produce crops on farms which natural fruits wouldn't be able to grow on. So something happened. There was a process that happened. They began to crossbreed fruits, crossbreed vegetables. It messed up the soil. Hybrids, number one, will not repopulate from an original organic state of nature, okay, because it's been tampered with. So these foods are not electrical foods, all right? They are unnatural. They are high in sugar and found to be high with starch as well. So genetically modified foods increase also the risk, can also increase the risk of allergens. Why? Because it's synthetic. Why? Because, and a lot of people say, well, I know this is a hybrid, but, there are still benefits in it. There are still good things about it. There you may find that there may be still a few good properties about it, but the bottom line is that it's not natural, okay? And things are not totally natural or reduced as being considered an electric food, okay? So we have to look at that. We need electricity. Our bodies are made up of that. We need electric cell food. This is what your body, your temple needs. So when you consume a lot of hybrids, before I even get to the list, I'm going to share that with you as well. It can lead to mineral deficiencies, hybrid sugar. If you consume a lot of it, what happens in the body is it doesn't recognize, the liver and the pancreas do not recognize all of the sugar and the starches. So the process is going to change within your body. So the minerals and the sugars get spilled off over into the urine, right? Because high sugar and high starch, they're not completely absorbed by the pancreas nor the liver. So now you're going to have a deficiency. Your body may incur a mineral imbalance because that is what it does, okay? When you have sweet fruit and sweet starchy vegetables, it can create an overstimulation and cause you to lose minerals in your body, okay? Some of them can even worsen a fungal condition, such as candida, yeast, things like that. And that too can trigger inflammation, all right? Hybrids, known to be high in starch, can also be corrosive to human tissue. If you consume enough of it, is it going to destroy? Is it going to break down things in our bodies? Yes, it can. You say, well, then, out of what you're saying, if the statistics are what they are, what can I eat? I'll tell you a little bit about that too. All right. So the modern crops today are mainly hybrid today, unless it's organic, unless they have indicated that or specified that or known for that. Like I said, what happens when you constantly grow hybrids, it pulls all the minerals from the soil, and then eventually nothing else is going to be able to grow from that, okay? So one way to be able to even tell a hybrid, if it's a hybrid plant, is if it does not make a seed that can be germinated. So it has a high probability of being a hybrid if it cannot generate or does not generate a seed, okay? We talked about the scripture, I believe it was Genesis 9, Bereshit 9, where we talked about seed and things being able to breed of itself. The seed, a seed is necessary and it's vital, and it's a good indicator about what is natural and what is not, what is in its natural state and what is not. Okay, so it's actually something that is hybrid actually has been mutilated. It has been changed from its original state. It has been spliced, as they say. All right, but I want to go over some things that I had on a list as being alerts, and I did post this. I posted it on social media, some of these aspects, but I think it's important because a lot of people consume it every day. All right. Number one, salt. Salt will harden your arteries. It can, if you don't use the right type of salt. I recommend Celtic. You know, I know everybody switched from the white iodized to the sea salt. Sea salt is good, but Celtic is even better when it comes to minerals, when it comes to the properties that are in it. Check it out if you can. It's not expensive. It's not an expensive product. All right. You know, if I want to read out a list to you of some of the things that I found. And matter of fact, if you Google, you can even Google this up. There is a patent, I believe, for if you Google up patent for hybrid plants of onions and garlic. Okay, it's gonna come up. It's gonna come up with a number that you can read the details on. When I read it, I was very, very blown away. But when you get some time, pull it up and take a look at it. Now, some common hybrids that are very well known. Number one is anything that is seedless, you know, regarding fruits. So we're going to look at apples. We're going to look at, because they're definitely crossbreeding apples. That's why you have so many different kinds. And if you do that, do your best to get the organic ones. All right. Watermelons. I said that the other day. You can find a seedless watermelon for about $3 now. You know, but the seeded ones, they're going to charge you more for. You may pay like $8 to $10 for that. Because what? It's seeded. It's bearing of its own kind. So they know the difference, but you'll see the seedless being shelled off more. It's definitely been changed from its natural state. All right. Variety of dates. These are common hybrid items. All right. Grapes, pineapples, because they got seedless grapes and they got seeded. Which one is better? You know, again, keep in mind the seed bearing of itself. Pineapples, persimmons, bananas should have seeds. Now, it's hard to find here, but they are a seeded fruit. All right. So it's about where you can find it, and I've seen it for myself. All right. Kiwis, they're making those seedless, which is crazy. Seedless citrus fruits you want to stay away from. Carrots are a hybrid. Corn, beets, celery, potatoes, broccoli, cauliflower. And I know you're saying, wow, you know, what do you mean it's a hybrid? It has been crossbreeded. Just look it up. Pull the name up. Google it up. Say hybrid. Put the vegetable right there, and you'll see what the cross between actually is. Okay. Nutmeg, aloe vera. Now, I'm not going to say, people say, okay, well, aloe vera is good. You know, the juice is good. You know, it's good. You know, if you get a cut or you get a scrape. I'm not telling you don't use it. If that's what you find the benefit of it for you, so be it. Is it in its original natural state? This is all we're talking about here. Things that have been crossbred, know what they are. All right. Soy, ginseng, most legumes, most beans. You really got to look, do the research for yourself. Pull it up. Put hybrid, put whatever type of bean is there. It will tell you whether it's in its original state or not. Chamomile even. Garlic. There is a garlic that is real, but it is a garlic seed. Okay? A garlic seed. Garlic seed is possible if the plant is allowed to come into its flower state. Okay, most of the time we don't even see that. Usually the bulbs are, you know, need to be plucked out in order for you to see the original state of garlic. So a lot of times what we're looking at is not the original state of what garlic is. Golden seal, echinacea, cashews, rice, definitely. Commercial soft wheat. For all of you who are buying that commercial soft wheat, you'll see it packaged on the bread. You know, that's not in its natural state. Tangelos, you know, that's been crossbred. That's not a pure orange. Pure oranges usually come in they're sour, and there's also another name for it, and I do have it, and I'm going to give it to you. But, you know, most of them have grapefruits, rutabaga, what else? Sweet lemons. You don't see lemons anymore. Sometimes they'll say sweet lemons. Clementines, mandarin, pomelos, plum cops, lamados. A lamato is a lemon and tomato that has been breeded together. Okay, so did you even know, and I found this very interesting even, that garlic was produced by Egyptians way back when for emblemming the mummies. Okay, so did you even know that a pig was crossbreeded as well? You know, it was crossed with a dog, a cat, and a rat. So, you know, most people don't know that. And it eats everything, and it eats anything, including feces. You know, it has no sweat glands, so there's nothing coming out of the system. There's no circulatory system, so it's always in a state of disease. You know, worms make their home in the pig, you know. And, you know, the Most High knows all things. That's not something that he created for us to consume. All right. Some parasites, you know, they can even withstand up to like a 1500 degree state of heat and still live. So they don't just die so easily. You know, people say, oh, well, when I cook it, you know, it'll burn all of that out. Really? Nobody really cooks anything at 1500 degrees. So, you know, you're really consuming what's in the animal. All right. In Leviticus 11, verse 7 and 8, Moshe was instructed from Yahuwah and declared the pig unclean. So it wasn't even supposed to be touched. It says, "And the swine, though he divide the hoof and be cloven footed, yet he cheweth not the cud, he is unclean to you." Who is he talking about? Yahshar'al. It is unclean to you. We are not supposed to consume that. Okay. It also says, "Of their flesh shall ye not eat, and their carcass shall ye not touch. They are unclean to you." Very clear. The Most High is being very specific about what we can and what we cannot have. All right. So I've read off some of the items that are actually hybrid. All right. Now these are, what I'm about to read to you here, are really, to me, just they're things that you need to be alerted about. Okay. We have to look at parsley. When people look at parsley, they say, okay, parsley is grown, but it is also a hybrid plant. Okay. If you're going to use something, a recommendation is always to use cilantro instead. All right. Someone mentioned to me about kale. Kale is a greenery. It is a leafery, but I wouldn't recommend for anyone to use more than maybe a handful of that, and periodically. And, you know, everybody's been on this strong kale wave. You know, I even was at one time, you know, until I did a little bit more homework and saw that it has the ability to not just affect people who already have thyroid concerns, but for people who it can trigger an imbalance in the function of it. So, you know, you really want to be mindful about that. We need to be mindful with all the, you know, milk is not, cow milk definitely is not a good thing that we should consume. Lemongrass is also a hybrid. It'll raise your blood pressure. It has the potential to do that. And a lot of times you'll find that being placed in a lot of soups. So you have to be mindful of that as well. Maca is also a hybrid plant. And also be mindful of maple syrup. Some of them contain formaldehyde. Some of them. So, you know, you really need to be mindful of the chemical and the percentage of what is in that product, because it can do damage to the body. All right. A lot of people went on a wave about black rice, but black rice, it's not a natural rice. It's a starch. Okay, we know rice is a starch, but it was created as a starch. Okay, so it was man-made, basically. Broccoli, like I said before, is a hybrid as well. It's an acid-based vegetable, and it's, from what I've read, the nutritional value is worse than okra and spinach. Okay. Cauliflower is another one that falls in the line with the broccoli. It has the potential to reduce the good minerals that are in the body, and it has no carbon in it. So our body needs carbon. Okay, so although even the garlic that we see and purchase in the store, people say it's great, it's wonderful, use it, use it, use it. Sometimes it doesn't allow the ability for wounds to heal. The actually pH balance level for garlic is a 3.3, which is very low. That's where it kind of falls at on the pH chart. It has the potential to destroy cells and weaken the membranes. Okay, so we want to be careful of that. A lot of people use it to lower the blood pressure, but at the same time, it has the potential to destroy membranes in the body. All right, so I just wanted to go over that, and I'm almost done, because on the next time that we meet, I want to talk about how we prepare our foods, in the regard of how sometimes people mix products together that shouldn't be. So, and this is not about food items. This is about how the Most High told us not to. All in relation to, I believe, what scripture is that? That is Exodus 23:19, Exodus 34:26, and Deuteronomy 14:21. But we'll talk about that next time. Now, recommended, because I know you're probably saying, well, you gave me everything that I shouldn't eat. But here are some things that you pretty much should and would be okay. And they are non-hybrid items. One is amaranth. Your avocado is good. And notice these things, most of them, they have seed to it. Bell peppers. The burro bananas are the small ones. They are the ones that do have seeds in them. The hayote, which is the Mexican squash. Seeded cucumbers. Dandelion. Excellent. Dandelion. Burdock, chickpeas, mushrooms. You know, a lot of people, it's a fungus. Don't eat a fungus. They say fungus. However, don't use the shiitake if you are going to use them. There are properties in it that are consumable and beneficial. Not the shiitake, but the other types. Okay. Nopales, which is like the Mexican cactus, okra, olives, sea veggies, the sea vegetables, what is it, wakame, dulse, hajiki, or nori. Those four, those sea veggies, they operate as phytoplankton in the body, which is sea minerals. Okay, so that's good. If you're going to do tomatoes, do the cherry and the plum type. All right. Turnips, zucchini, soursop is good. Prunes, peaches, papayas, and I knew it had another name for the orange. It's called Seville, that type, or the sour for oranges. Just those two. And most of the time you don't see that in the market. You don't see that in the store. You don't see those kinds in the markets. Okay. But those are the ones that are in the original state and non-hybrid. All right. Melons that have seeds in it, limes that have seeds in it, currants, cantaloupe, cherries, berries, but no cranberry. Okay, sorry. And organic seeded products. If you're going to eat fruit, the best thing to do, because you're unsure, is not to eat the canned and don't eat the seedless. Okay, so a lot of us say, well, you know, how am I going to get around that? Most people don't have a yard. Most people don't have a garden. So most of us just don't. But maybe we can start by at least seeing how we can grow certain things in pots. Certain things can be grown indoors with sun, with light, with water. And it's a good thing to start looking into that for ourselves, no matter where you may be. Connect with people who are growing, you know, items. It's a good thing. It's a good thing that we learn from each other. Also, there are still some heirloom seeds that are available in the market. So the thing is to really seek out and research how to eat less tampered with foods. You know, to stick primarily to what really is organic. All right. Come as, you know, to do the best to come as closest to it as possible. You know, a lot of people say I can't afford it. And I believe I said on the last video, the best thing for us to do is to do your research. The best thing to do is to do the homework. There are ways. I found ways through different markets. Now, the thing is, I can't go into one place and find everything that I need. But I might have to hit 4 or 5 different places to find what I need at a economical, reasonable price. But am I willing to do that just so that I have, you know, the items that are more beneficial to my body? Yes. I don't do all of my shopping in one place. And so, yes, although it may take time, it's worth it in the end if you can find the value as well as finding the richness of the product. So that's all, you know, take time, research, search it out. You'll be surprised how, you know, maybe even in your area there are things that you really did not even know. So for those of you even in the New York City metro area, understand that wholesalers even now are catching on. They're carrying more organic produce. Aldi is no BJ's. I know Costco has some, you know, not all of them, but they are indicated, and they do have sections where they are selling those items. And they're not, you won't notice too much of a difference. I have done comparison with pricing a lot. And so you can, it's out there and you can find it. I can't speak for those who are in rural areas. You may have more farms, agriculture, you know, available through that means than for someone who's in the city. But take the time, please do the homework and the research. And I'm so glad I wanted to spend time today just to, you know, share with you all and come back and bring more to the table. But we still have a way to go when it comes to the aspect of the dietary. I do still want to get back into how the Father has designed for us to consume. Stay tuned, because I have an announcement coming. We're definitely going to assemble one day this week on a conference line. You know, we want to talk about even taking it back to the first aspect of dietary instruction, okay? And it's so important. So please stay tuned. I'll make an announcement prior to that for those of you who can come on the line. It's going to be one evening during this week. More than likely it will be Thursday, and I will keep you all informed. All right, so if you want to join the line, please do so, but please be respectful. Please mute your phones, and you know, stay tuned. We like bringing you information. I definitely am excited about it, because it's going to cover areas that most of the time is not really discussed, and we're going to take it back to Bereshit, and that was before Leviticus. That was before that time when he said, okay, you can eat this. Prior to that, in Bereshit, what the original plan was at that time, what the original intent was at that time, and what they were giving to eat is very important to our lives. All right, so kingdom blessings to you. This is Akaya. I love coming and fellowshipping with you. You know, Ahaba, shalom.